Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. Um, the videos that I'm going to show you, the first one is by TNet Media. I believe they're out of British Columbia, Canada, and the host is Lauren Southern. She's going to talk about some new, supposedly called hate law crimes in Canada, and I want everybody to pay attention to this, especially here in the States, because I'm also going to show you some information about what's happening in the Utah school board, or one of the Utah school boards, and all this that I'm going to show you from Canada to Utah pertains to the kids. And yes, in case anybody's wondering, they're still coming after the kids, okay? They're still coming after the kids with all this sexualization and all this transgender ideology, and they're actually putting laws now where they're going to be enforcing more hate laws if anybody is against anything like this in Canada. And the reason why I want to show what's going on in Utah is because, you know what, it's just a matter of time if we don't keep talking about this and shedding light on it and putting a stop to it before it'll be coming to America. And people say, well, that's never going to happen. Well, I'm sure 20 years ago nobody thought everything that's happening now was going to happen, and I'm sure that they were saying the same thing back then, but yet here we are. But before I continue, I just want to thank all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Join the channel if you're new. Leave a comment. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App, my PayPal, and my merch store, TrueOutlawPatriot.com. So without further ado, I'm going to play this clip, and we're going to take it from here, because this is, especially for people in Canada, I feel so sorry for them. But it's very disturbing. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. So my home province of British Columbia here in Canada has just elected to expand their definition of hate crimes. Now, they want to include hate propaganda, conversion therapy, and also new sections specific to anti-Semitism. This is all as of February 16th this month. Apparently, British Columbia actually has some of the highest rates of hate crime offenses across Canada, all committed by me, of course. But on a serious note, you may be wondering, why do we have the highest rate here? What do we actually consider a hate crime in BC? Are we struggling with massive KKK rallies, lynchings going on all over the place, perhaps trans clinics or synagogues being burnt down? Well, no, but we definitely have some churches being burnt down here and all across Canada, but coincidentally, you didn't see anything added about anti-Christian sentiment or I'm
going to cut into this real quick. You know, she has a good point that so many people, especially here in America, they're talking about all this white systemic racism and all these white hate crimes that are going on, and yet no matter where you look, you don't see any of that. Okay, you don't see groups of KKK members. You don't see groups of white people going out there attacking people. You don't see synagogues being burnt down or mosques or anything like that. But one thing you do see, that is a major attack on Christianity in America. So just keep that in mind. But let's continue.
Church sentiment in these new documents? No. Instead, the reason the government have elected to expand our hate crime definition is because of people protesting against SOGI 123. If you don't know what SOGI 123 is, it's essentially all of the gender indoctrination going into our schools here in Canada, telling kids they can be they, thems, all of the transgender stuff. So if you're a Christian or Muslim parent and you're upset by this, it now may be a hate crime to speak up. And then the other reason was people protesting against the vaccine mandates, people holding up signs saying the government did us dirty. That's now potentially going to be considered a hate crime, or is part of the reason we're bringing in these new laws. Let's just check out I'm not joking. You may think I'm joking, but let me just show you this Global News or City News video discussing the new laws and why they've been brought in.
I really like the preamble to this because it recognizes right off the top that hate crimes are an affront to human dignity.
The BC Prosecution Service has updated its definitions for hate crimes in the province, expanding them to include hate propaganda, conversion therapy, and more. Last spring in North Vancouver, the BC government got a court injunction to stop anti-vaccine and anti-SOGI groups from hanging banners on overpasses like this one on Mountain Highway.
Now I'm going to cut in again real quick. You know, I remember growing up as a kid in the Bronx, there were a lot of people in New York that would go visit Canada. And whenever they came back, they always had good things to say about Canada. How nice it was, how peaceful, how good the people were. Never heard a bad thing, ever, ever, ever. And I have to say, in the past, I'd say like 8 years, okay, well, about the past 6 years plus, it's to listen to what's going on in Canada and what the Canadian people are being put through, this dictatorship, this communist dictatorship that's going on. I can't put both of those timelines together. What I was being told when I was younger, how beautiful it was and how great it was, to now, because it just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, if I never heard about Canada up until now, I would think that this country was built on communism, socialism, a dictatorship, because it's like night and day in my eyes. And I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. I've never been there. I always wanted to take the road trip. But you know what? With the way, and no offense towards the Canadian people that are fighting for their freedoms, I stand with them. But it's almost scary to want to go visit, because you never know what the powers that be are going to treat you. Not the people, okay, as far as the ones that are against all this. But it's almost like if I go and I get arrested, how are they going to treat me knowing I'm coming, you know, from America, and I don't stand with their ideology? You know what I mean? But let's continue.
Banners attacking kind of queer and trans inclusions in school, protesting SOGI 123, which is a resource for BC schools used in all BC school districts.
At the time, some said the RCMP weren't doing enough to...
Wait, I gotta pause this for a minute, because if you look at this sign here, if you zoom in, that pride flag, I'm pretty sure that says gays against groomers. So this isn't even people saying, I hate homosexuals. This is literally gays saying, the sign literally says, sexualizing children is child abuse.
And she's right. You know, in America, there was, and I don't know if it's still going, but it was big a couple of years ago, the Gays Against Groomers movement. And then they were on Facebook. Okay, I think they still are. But then another group came out, and it said, and they were titled Gays Against Groomers. Now, when you just listen to that, it's like, you know what? All I could think of is a group of staunch pedophiles that are going against gay people who are against grooming children into all this sexual ideology. And I don't know, I don't know what's more sick, to tell you the truth, when it comes to that, to thinking like that. Because it's like, you say you love children, but you're against somebody that wants to protect them from being sexualized. And I'll be honest, I hope I never meet somebody that thinks like that. Okay? Because it just seems that with the left, and no matter where it's at, in America, in Canada, in the UK, only the Western world, where people could be so vicious when it comes to want to indoctrinate kids. It's sickening, it's wicked, it's evil, it's everything above that you can think of when it comes to like wanting to harm a child. But let's continue.
That's hate. That's what City News and these commentators are considering hate now. Sus. Pretty sus, guys.
Stop the protesters, since they kept returning without penalty despite the injunction.
It was pretty clear that the RCMP felt the language previously was not clear enough for them to be able to come out and charge people who were displaying messages of hate very frequently out here. And so I'm hopeful that this will now give the police the teeth to be able to charge and convict.
So to clarify, what's going on there is she's saying these messages of hate, people putting up signs, but by the way, if you were watching this and you were one of those people that puts those posters over the overpasses, you better believe I'm down there honking. I see you. You guys are awesome. And hopefully I don't get a hate crime charge for saying that, but that is me honking below you guys.
And I agree with that 100%. And just another quick note, what I've noticed a lot of, we've been noticing here in America where you have a lot of boys that are joining the girls' teams, and girls are getting hurt. Boys saying that they're transgender and they're abusing girls, and they're abusing girls sexually too. Okay, there's been a lot of reports about that. But another thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people that are these activists, okay, and maybe it's me, but it's what I see so far. It's mostly women that are these heavy activists, and then the men, the ones that are for it, they're out there like weeding themselves into the women's spaces. It's really, really sickening, people. It really is. But let's continue.
But what they're saying here is essentially people holding up signs saying don't sexualize children. Previously, Canadians had the right to do that. That was considered free speech. So when Karens like this were complaining and shrieking, the RCMP just didn't have the teeth. They couldn't do anything because Canadians had free speech. So now they've gone back and they've changed the laws and said, well, let's just make these laws so vague that if you propose any vaguely anti-government sentiment, we're going to be able to arrest you for that, even if you are gay people that are protesting the grooming of children.
Sound familiar, people? A couple of instances here in America. Sound familiar the way things are going on? Pay attention.
That's what's going on here. Let's continue.
People were spreading messages of hate.
The BC Prosecution Service's updated policy now expands the definition of hate crimes to include mischief to property of an identifiable group motivated by hate, bias, or prejudice. Any criminal code offense targeting people based on race, religion, sexual orientation, and more is now part of the policy, and it also has sections specific to anti-Semitism and conversion therapy. An activist in North Vancouver is calling these changes validating and a useful tool for those dealing with hate.
These struggles are something that the communities have been dealing with for a very long time. And one of the kind of frustrating barriers to seeking a solution or an end to some of the hate going around is that, you know, hate crime legislation has been quite poorly defined. The term hate crime itself doesn't actually exist in the criminal code.
At the end of January, a 51-year-old who stole a Progress Pride flag at the Lonsdale Quay in May was convicted of 2 counts of mischief. District Councillor Catherine Pope said she's pleased to see the prosecution service using strong language to highlight crimes motivated by hate.
Now, I just want to pause there. Did you hear that? There was just a 51-year-old man charged with tearing down the pride flag at the Lonsdale Quay. Now, what they don't mention in this report, or almost any other of the mainstream media reports that have come out on that subject, is that the man who took down that flag was a gay man himself. Pretty convenient that they don't mention that, huh? He's committing a hate crime against himself. Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, gay or not, everyone is a little frustrated with the mass propaganda going on by our government in schools for a certain ideology, and that flag doesn't even represent half the people that are supposedly underneath that banner, including this man who is now being charged with a hate crime for being against government propaganda? Just saying, just a thought.
And you know what? She's right, and I agree with her 100% because there's a lot of gay people here in America that are frowned upon when they want to speak out about this. I was watching sometime last year when they started the whole drag queen story hour. There was a drag queen that came out and was speaking out against it. Okay, and he was saying that, you know, drag shows are nowhere for children to be. And he admitted, he goes, what happens in drag shows, I mean, it's all adult stuff, from the sex to the drinking to the drugs, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, people like that believe in a way of life, but yet they keep it private, or they keep it just to adults only. They get frowned upon also, because it's as if this whole gay movement, they want it to be out in the open. And if they, in my opinion, the ones that want it like really explicitly, where they don't care if there's kids around or anything. I mean, I've seen video clips of the gay pride parades here in America, and they are, I mean, especially in New York, they are disgusting when there's kids around. What these grown men do in front of these kids, okay, I thought we lived in a country where stuff like that was totally frowned upon and taboo and should be kept away, from the kids. And it's funny that some of these people, or a lot of these people, can tell your children, don't tell this to your parents. If your parents do something wrong to you, let us know. But it's okay if we do it and we implement it on you. We are definitely living in some times where, like it says in the Bible, the battle we fight is not against the flesh and blood. It's a spiritual battle against the principalities. And if I had to guess, there are some wicked forces, just flowing through a lot of people in this world in this day and age. And a lot of it is going through the people in the West, okay? Where they truly think what they are doing is empowering, it's freedom. It's like they like to say now, love is love. No, wickedness is wickedness, man. Okay? And when it comes to the kids, when it comes to me, and anybody, whatever topic I cover, whatever it is, the number one thing that you will always lose when it comes to arguing with me or trying to throw it in my face is when you come after the kids. Out of anything else besides standing up for my Lord and Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, and I am not some holy roller. I'm not out there on the corner trying to preach the Bible, nothing like that. I just know my covenant with Him. But the second thing is the kids. You mess with the kids, with me, you're going to lose all the time. But let's continue.
It makes it abundantly clear that this needs to be taken more seriously, and that these kinds of crimes are to be punished as hate crimes.
Meanwhile, CSIS told City News on Thursday violent threats from the anti-gender movement are, quote, almost certain to continue over the coming year. In North Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.
Okay, now I'm going to, for lack of time, I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can see the rest of her take on this, so I can show you what's going on in Utah now. But this is, this is something that people need to take serious, because what a lot of people say and what a lot of people don't understand, what happens in Europe and in Canada, rest assured is going to happen in America, and vice versa, before it starts hitting the rest of the world. But the thing about it is, in the rest of the world, they're just stronger on what they believe in. Okay, but there's a breakdown now in America where even the Muslim community is fighting back against this, and even now they are being vilified by the left. Okay, so there's one thing I will say about the left. Okay, they know how to draw people in, and when they're done with you, or they see that you're going to turn tides, they know how to get rid of you quick. That's why I always say that the left, they eat themselves. And this is a leftist ideology that is, like I said, that is plaguing the Western world. And they're trying to push it across the globe. Obama went to some I forgot where it was Ghana or something like that, about last year, I believe, early last year, and tried to bring up to one of their leaders about protecting gay people. And he basically told Obama, go kick freaking rocks. You know what I mean? He was like, no, that's not going to happen. The way we do things here is the way we do things here. Okay? And, I think Obama really thought that, oh, well, you know what? I'm a closet Muslim, not that anybody realizes it, but maybe, since they're Muslim, they'll side with me. But he didn't understand was, you know what? You're even a disgrace to your own religion, because you're over here saying that you're a Muslim, but yeah, you're all for pushing this, this transgender ideology. Okay? And Obama was the first one to implement this and start this in America when he was president, lest anybody forget. That's why we're in the mess that we are now. Okay, the only thing that Biden has pushed it to a 2.3.0 category, all right, where it's really getting out of control, that no matter how many laws are being put down, especially in the red states, like in Florida, where it's, DeSantis is making it illegal for a lot of this indoctrination to be happening, where the school boards and like school staff and the Board of Education, they're still pushing back hard because they want it. You know, the powers that be, they're pushing for this really hard, man. They're really coming after your kids. And let me tell you something. That is evil and that is diabolical. What these people are doing. If they think that what they're doing is okay in this world, when we all pass, we all got to stand before God in the next. Okay? And there's only going to be two places to go. That's either heaven or hell. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. But let's continue. Okay, so the article I'm going to read is from, let me see, National Review. Okay, but before I start reading it, I want to apologize for the video clips before. No matter what I try to do, editing with the audio, it wasn't coming out right, so there was a lot of reverb in it on the part of the video. So I hope it's not too bad, but I do apologize. Now, with that being said, this article, like I said, is from National Review, and it says Utah school districts discourage teachers from informing parents of student gender transitions. Okay. It says 2 Utah school districts are encouraging staff to conceal students' gender transitions from parents. Internal documents obtained by National Review reveal policy manuals distributed to teachers and staff by the Nebo and Alpine school districts instruct teachers and staff not to notify parents or guardians after a student asks to be referred to by a name or pronouns of the opposite sex outside of certain limited circumstances. Nebo instructs staff to heed the ACLU's guidance. So not only are they going after the parents, okay, saying that, you know what, we don't have to tell you anything. One organization is taking heed to the ACLU's guidance, okay, which is very disturbing to say the least, because it says, I'll read it again. Nebo instructs staff to heed the ACLU's guidance, which is very protective of a student's right to privacy in his or her sexuality, and adds that school employees should only notify parents if a situation exists which presents a serious threat to the well-being of a student, pursuant to Utah state laws. Otherwise, volunteering known information about a student's sexuality with parents is not advised. The district's practical tips for interacting with transgender students states, I should say. It says the district also instructs its staff on how to create inclusive environments, referring teachers and administrators to a document titled Tool, recognizing microaggressions and the messages they send. Okay, microaggressions, here we go. You know, they got macroaggressions and microaggressions. Again, you know, they come up with all these terms. A lot of these terms I've never heard of in the past 20 years. Like, I honestly, I have to say, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm ignorant or something, because to tell you the truth, I don't know of anybody that's heard of these terms that just started coming out, like the term microaggression. If it is a term that has been in existence for the past 40, 50 years, okay, I get it. But the way it's being used in context with, it all just started coming about with microaggressions, macroaggressions, cisgender, poly this and molly that, and what the hell. And it's just like, you know what, you people come up with all these things, and then you give it to all these organizations, then they start using it, then they start throwing it against people, and right away what you're going to wind up having, it's what's happening in Canada, that everything will be considered hate speech. And that's where we're headed, folks. And there's not even that's where we're headed. We're here. We just haven't reached the point like Canada has, but that's because even though we have a dictator-in-chief now, Canada has had theirs for the longest, and that weasel will not get out of office. But I'm going to digress on that. But let's continue. It says, according to the document, microaggression include, but are not limited to, see what I'm saying? Just like in Canada. Their rendition of hate speech is this, but is not limited to, which means that they could keep adding. Any single time they feel uncomfortable about something, about a word, about a feeling, about a phrase, they're going to add it. Okay? Not limited to color blindness statements that indicate that a white person does not want to or need to acknowledge race. Okay? Pathologizing cultural values / communication styles. The notion that the values and communication styles of the dominant white culture are ideal, normal. People, Read that. I got to read this again. This is insane. According to the document, microaggression include, but are not limited to, color blindness, in parentheses, statements that indicate that a white person does not want to or need to acknowledge race. End. Okay? Then it says pathologizing cultural values / communication styles, in parentheses again, the notion that, oh boy, the values and communication styles of the dominant / white culture are ideal / normal and sexist / heterosexist language, being forced to choose male or female when completing basic forms, or 2 options for relationship status, married or single. Does any of this shit make any sense to anybody? And I am being dead ass serious. Somebody please leave comments. Because this is definitely the work of the enemy. To sow confusion and division in people's heads with words in open and closed parentheses, whatever you want to call it. But then if an adult, and let me tell you something, I'm a very smart freaking person. Okay, I have 2 college degrees. Okay, and not trying to toot my own horn. Okay, but my college degrees are both in the medical field. I just chose to go into construction. I like building stuff, destroying stuff, and rebuilding it again. That has been my choice in life. Okay? And let me tell you something. I read some of the stuff, and I'm not well versed when it comes to me repeating myself. I know I stutter a lot and I trip a lot, but don't get it twisted. Trust me, I'll take an IQ test with anybody, and hands down, I'll beat your ass. But I look at the way they phrase things, and I try to read it and read it and read it, and I'm like, there is so much jumbled bullshit that if a person like me can't truly understand it, what do you think is doing to the minds of younger people when they try to tell them, you're going to hide behind these laws and these meanings that we put together whenever we want, just to skirt away from the truth, which the truth is basically to sow division and chaos. Okay? But let's continue. Now it says Alpine's guiding principles for respecting gender diversity in Alpine District School details how teachers and staff should partner with families to support students academically, socially, and emotionally. Yet notes that there is no requirement under the law to report the gender identity to a parent or guardian unless the student is asking for a change to their educational record or program. Now this in itself is where parents and people have to get together and say, you know what, this has to stop. Because this is what's going to happen, and it's happened already. There have been boys that said that they transitioned to girls, that have gone into girls' bathrooms and have raped girls already in high schools, people. So now you're going to have, and the video I put out yesterday was of that transgender boy on the girls' basketball team, and he injured 3 of those girls before halftime. That the coach had to forfeit the game and say, what are you doing? We're done. And the freaking kid was like 6'2", with facial hair. Okay? And it happened in Michigan. And if I remember correctly, I believe it's Michigan where you get in trouble for misgendering somebody. This is insane. This is insanity. It's not about joking and the meme make it make sense. No, the hell with that bullshit. It's not about make it make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. They don't want it to make sense. Okay? Because they don't want the adults to understand. They want the adults to fight back against something so they can look at the adults and say, you see, they're abusive, because in the end all they want is your kids. This is a spiritual battle for your kids' minds, bodies, and souls, people. Okay? So if they let this program happen, what's going to happen is that if no parents have to be notified that their son, okay, wants to be a girl and he joins a girl's team, now he's in the girls' locker room. And vice versa. And then when something happens, some kind of sexual assault, Then what? Then you go and notify the parents after the damage is said and done? Let's continue. Although educators should give students an option to inform his parents about a gender change, there may be circumstances wherein students, parents, or guardians should not be contacted. Due to safety concerns, the district says in that case, teachers are instructed to notify counselors, social workers, psychologists, and the Division of Child and Family Services. Wow! Just notify the counselors, the social workers, a psychologist, and child services. 4 more entities that are trying to separate parents from the children. People in Utah, it is time for you to start fighting back. The hell with the politics, the hell with this bullshit. It is time to start fighting back against this bullshit. Because just the child services alone is an extension of the government. Okay? Never mind these three. These three are going to be in cahoots. The counselors, social workers, and psychologists. They're going to be in cahoots. But Division of Child and Family Services, that's an extension of the government. Okay? Oh boy. The documents were first obtained by the watchdog group Parents Defending Education, PDE, via a Freedom of Information Act request. America is in the midst of a parental exclusion crisis taking root in schools across the country. Amen. PDE Senior Advisor Michelle Exner said, Parents Defending Education has tracked nearly 1,100 school districts, look at that have policies in place meant to keep information from parents. This is unconscionable. These misguided policies are anti-parent and anti-family and run the risk of withholding critical information from parents regarding their own children. Okay? More than 18,000 schools have adopted policies that encourage public school staff to conceal a child's gender identity from his or her parents. Nebo and Alpine school districts did not respond to requests for comment. Of course they won't. Of course they won't. Okay? And I'll say it like this. And I don't give a rat's ass what anybody thinks. Anybody that is for this type of stuff, in my opinion, they are pedophiles. They are the high-ranking ones that want to control your kids and separate the kids from the family and keep them to themselves. This is sick and it's evil and it's freaking diabolical. And this is work from the enemy, people. This is work from the enemy. Okay? Because adults can figure things out when it comes to like adulting and say, you know what, I don't have to hang out with this party. I don't have to hang out in this party. I don't have to hang out with this group of people. I don't have to work at this job. And those are your choices. Your free will choices that God gave you to pick and choose and say, you know what, I'm not liking this way of life. I can walk away from it. And the enemy knows that. But what's the next best thing he's going to do? He's going to infiltrate people and come after your kids. Because he knows the kids are easily persuaded. And this is where parents have to start up, because anybody that has a child, God gave you that child. And if any parent is for this, you better get right. You better get right with God. Because if you think, if I have a child, this is my child, I can do whatever I want and bring my child into this way of life, don't kid yourself. Okay? Not for 1 second, do not kid yourself. This is what's going on, people. From Canada to Utah to Florida, you name it, that's where it's going, all the way to Ireland, to the England, you name it, it's out there. Okay? I mean, there's a video that I did about 6-7 months ago, but now it's going viral again, of an Irish father that actually bogarted his way into a after-school book reading that they try to keep hush-hush. And when he bogarted his way through, it was them teaching about transgenderism. What else was it? It wasn't. I don't think it was a drag book reading. But anyway, it was just a bunch of parents with their kids, and they were just reading gay stories to them. I mean, it was just horrible. And he was calling them out. He was telling, I mean, and they were like scattering like rats. He was like, because you're not supposed to do that, and they were trying to do it in secret. And let me tell you something. Whatever you try to do with a child in secret, you already know it's wrong. And I shouldn't say that it's wrong like if you're setting up for a party, you know, as a surprise party, I don't mean that way. But when you're doing something because you know it's wrong and you have to hide from it, and you're including a child in it and you're trying to hide that, it's because you know it's wrong. Okay? You know it's wrong. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. People, please, I know I always say to pass my channel around, pass the video. Please pass this to your friends if they have kids. If you have kids, pass it to your kids. Pass it so they can, if you have young kids that in high school, junior high school, whatever, pass it to them. Everybody has a cell phone so they can pass it off to their friends. We need more young warriors in this. Okay? The adults can't do this alone. Because even the young people that are against this, even they're being vilified. We need to come together. Okay? It doesn't matter. Okay? What race, what religion. If you're against it because you know it's wrong, then it's time for people to unite. And stop protesting things that are going on while not paying attention to what's going on at home. That's why so much of this is happening. And the powers that be are distracting everybody with everything else that's going on around the world. But meanwhile, what's going on at home, that's what they're trying to distract everybody from. Okay? And remember, I'm not even going to tell you who did it, but just look it up so you know that I'm not lying. Okay? Many, many, many years ago, it was said that the destruction of America will not come from the outside, it will come from within. Remember that, people. And here we are. The destruction from within the family, from within society, from within our government, within the churches, okay, within the communities, the neighborhoods. It's coming from within. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass it around. If you want to help support the channel, I'll leave a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal, and to my merch store, TrueOutlawPatriot.com. Excuse me. And remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other, keep praying for this country, keep praying for the children, and pray for each other. Peace.